And welcome to the Cardinals Nest here on HBC Channel 25. Dean Beckman, Sports Information Director Donny Nadeau, and men's hockey coach Bill Moore joining us. And Bill, you're back on the show again this week. We had you on a few weeks ago to sort of preview the men's hockey season. Now we're 4 games in, so I think a good time to have you back. We have a big event coming up on Friday night at the St. Mary's Ice Arena. It's a Veterans Appreciation Night, so we'll get to that a little bit later on. But first, Bill, you're off to a 4-4 start. You've had some ups and downs, and so now just looking for some consistent play, right?
Absolutely. I think that, you know, we've been real good at times. We've struggled at times. I think that some of our younger players are starting to understand what college hockey is all about, and I think that's always a challenge when you've got 3 of your 6 defensemen being freshmen coming in from juniors. They think, oh, this is just D3, until they get here and say, oh, this is D3, and find out that the pace is faster. They got to make decisions quicker. Players are bigger and stronger, and those are just some adjustment things that we're still working with. But at the beginning of the season, if somebody would have told us we were 2-2 after the showcase and the NCHA interlock, I'd be happy with that right now.
You know, it's interesting, we talk about the adjustments. In the showcase, you win the first game and you win it big, and then you come out a little bit flat against St. John's, so you end up 1-1 at the showcase. Now, last weekend in the interlock, you actually start out a little slow. You fall behind 3-0 against Superior and lose 3-1, but yet you bounce back with another impressive showing. Talk a little bit about that game against Scholastica, a 5-2 win where really you guys dominated, especially coming off of a 3-1 loss the night before.
Sure, and I think, you know, in order to understand what happened at Scholastica, you got to know what happened at Superior. Yeah, we jumped out, or we got down 3-0 quickly. 2 were power play goals. A breakaway made it 3-0 in the first 7 minutes. But after that point, we outshot them 19-6 in the last 52 minutes of the game. Hit a couple posts, just couldn't get back in, and we fell behind too early. The good news is since Superior scored those 2 power play goals at the beginning of the game, we've killed 17 in a row off, making some minor adjustments. So that actually helped us to fix the things that we were doing wrong. When we came out against Scholastica, again, you don't know college hockey. The week before, Scholastica beat Superior 5-1 the first night and then lost by a goal the second night. And we come out and outshoot Scholastica 44-16, I think it was, and win 5-2. So I think the big thing is we pressured them right away, got some goals right away, got up instead of down, and the momentum just continued to build.
Bill, one of the things that stood out to me against Superior would be their size. Yeah. Very big, very strong, very physical. And I was talking to Andrew Ketterer that night against Superior, and he says, you know, Scholastica, even more so, bigger, stronger, more physical. So was there some adjustment from that standpoint?
There definitely was. When you play a lot of the NCHA teams, especially the northern ones like Wisconsin, Superior, and St. Scholastica, they do a heavy amount of their recruiting in Canada. And there's a different brand of hockey in Canadian hockey. They're a lot more physical, and they play that way. That just really isn't my style. I was never a physical player. I wanted to skate as fast as we could and keep the tempo up. So we've designed our team around a much more active, fluid, quick style of play. And we do struggle once in a while when we play some of the bigger, more physical teams.
You know, that game, that contest against Superior, we took a lot of penalties in that one. Was there some overcompensation, do you think, from the physical style of play where we maybe just got too aggressive trying to play more physical to keep up with Superior in that standpoint?
I absolutely believe that is true. You know, we wanted to try to show them that we could play as physical as they wanted to. But I also think that we just had a set of referees for this weekend that just called the game tight. And they called it tight for both teams, you know, the same way against St. Scholastica the next night. So you just have to adapt to the style of the referees that you get, and they did a very nice job. They called it, you know, all you can ask as a coach is that you call it the same way for both teams. And they did. They called it tight for both teams. There were a lot of penalties. It doesn't really create the flow that we would like to have, But again, they were consistent, and in the officials' ratings at the end, I rated them fairly high because they were consistent. And whether they're tight or not, they were at least consistent.
You know, we've talked all season about your team speed. One of the things you talked about last time we were on the show is how fast this team is, probably the fastest team you've had. That you've really taken advantage of that, and again, you used the St. Scholastica game. The 2 power play goals you scored were probably because of your speed, but more importantly, the 2 shorthanded goals you scored were certainly because of your speed, and that's got to be a big advantage when you can utilize that speed. So when you're killing a penalty, you're actually having some offensive opportunities as well as just trying to kill that man short situation.
Absolutely, and I think one of the things that we've done this year is we've put a lot more pressure on the different penalties, on the power plays that we're playing against, because we have the speed to react and be able to get back if we make a mistake. So definitely speed plays a part in what we're doing. The style and the systems that we're playing are dedicated and predicated from that speed. So we just have to continue to play at a level that we do and try not to get distracted by the style that maybe another team might play.
And they're showing that highlight of Scott Dewar's first period shorthanded goal, and that was probably one of those goals that you're going to see on a Sports Center reel. I mean, he goes up, puts the puck up and over the St. Scholastica defenseman, and then actually swats it out of midair after it bounces off the ice and scores. And Scott's really proven over the years to be a great penalty killer, and this year he's taken that to the next level. 2 shorthanded goals in 4 games. He actually leads the nation in shorthanded goals.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that Scotty's had the ability to do this all along. Last year he was just fighting injury the whole time, and this year he's healthy, and you can see what he's doing when he is healthy. But you know, when you're always nicked up and banged up, you're not at full strength. You can't always have that burst of speed that he has when he is healthy. So it's nice to see him healthy. We cross our fingers he remains healthy, and he's doing a great job.
Speaking of the health of the team, can you talk a little bit about how you're sitting heading into this weekend against Hamlin?
Well, we're a little hairy right now. I mean, up in the media box at Monday's practice, we had 6 guys, 2 on crutches. 2 of our 3 captains are out. But you know what? It's hockey, and the unfortunate situation for those guys that are hurt is that they probably are not going to be able to play. The fortunate side for the guys that didn't get a chance to play as much as they wanted last week is they're going to get their opportunity to shine. So it is what it is, and you just got to go from there. The nice thing for us is that if we can get through this weekend and play well and play hard, next weekend's a bye for us. So that gives us a good 10 days, 12 days to heal before we go to Michigan to play the U.S. national team and Adrian College. You know,
you had mentioned that if somebody had told you you'd be 2-2 after the first 4 games, you'd be happy with that. And the next question would be, is after 4 games, if I told you that Austin Belko had 3 goals, you'd probably say, yeah, that's to be expected. But if I said Bobby Thompson and Bob Marks have 3 goals as well, that's got to be a little bit of a surprise.
It's a great thing, you know, and Bobby, I love Bobby with all my heart. He plays hard. He's a good, solid power forward. He really works hard in the classroom. He's really the type of player and become the kind of kid that we want to produce at St. Mary's. And I love to see the fact that he's having some success. He's playing on our #1 line right now, and it was a very good thing for us.
Well, we saw on the graphic there that this Friday night's game will be right here on Channel 25 HBC. We'll have the pregame at 7:15, and then the first opening face-off there at 7:30. It's against Hamlin, but it's also not just a conference game. It is Veterans Appreciation Night, of course, coinciding with November 11th, which is Veterans Appreciation Day on Sunday this year. But now the second year in a row, Bill, that you have helped organize and put together a very special event up at St. Mary's, and it'll sort of culminate there on Friday night.
Absolutely. We started it last year in response to an alum named Josh Mashevitz. And Josh served our country in Afghanistan, unfortunately stepped on a landmine and was wounded. And between the night that we had for him and the Taylor Richmond Foundation, we tried to do what we could to help him. And Veterans Day has always been a really, really important day for me personally. I mean, that's one thing that I really enjoy. It's a chance for me. I did not get to serve in the military, so it's a way for me to say thanks to all of those who chose to support us and fight for our freedom and the things that we have. So it's always been something that really is near and dear to my heart, and it was just an opportunity for us to get something going, and it worked so well last year that we decided to make it a tradition, and now we're going to do that annually at whatever home game is closest to Veterans Day, and we're very, very excited for it.
And you'll have the VFW Post 1286, the color guard there for the national anthem, right?
Yep, we'll do national anthem, and then at the end of the first period, we are going to honor all veterans with both teams and sing God Bless America and do a salute to the veterans that are there and those in memory. So again, I'm very, very excited for it. There isn't a better group of people that deserve the notoriety and the thanks than our veterans.
And sir,
Bill, talk a little bit about, Veterans Appreciation Night is really just one of several events that St. Mary's teams put on in recognition of different things. You've got the women's basketball team plays for K, and you've got the men's basketball team does the Coaches versus Cancer, and your team is doing the Movember in awareness for men's health issues. Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about how your teams kind of grasp these causes and really kind of bring them to light through what they do on the field of competition.
Yeah, well, I think everybody likes to do the different things to try to show their athletes that there is more to life than just ourselves. And I think if you look at one of the most successful ones, at least that I'm looking at, is Dig Pink for volleyball. And it's just one of those things that the players look forward to. It started out with just simple ideas, and they grow to give our athletes and our students the opportunity to realize that there are people that need help, there are people that deserve thanks, there are people outside of our own little community that we have to take notice of. And to me, I think that's just part of what St. Mary's does, and I know a lot of different people do the same thing, so I don't want to just say this is a St. Mary's thing, but it is a very, very important part of the athletic department, and by no means is it just a men's hockey thing. It's department-wide.
Well, and it seems like, too, the entire conference will get together on a lot of these things. Mm-hmm. And do you get a chance often to see what some other schools do, whether it be for a veterans appreciation or maybe some other charitable cause?
Yeah, well, I think when you talk about cancer research and things like that, the MIAC does a day of baseball. And all of the teams in the MIAC that are playing that day take part in that event. And Dig Pink is becoming more important around the different places. Movember for testicular cancer and things like that. Those are starting to be grasped by everyone, not just little individual groups. And I think that the more they come out, the more that you can get other schools to do it, the bigger impact that we can have on not only our younger generation and our older generation, but just to show people that you care. So I think if we can do it and it's successful and somebody plays off of it and says, hey, we should do that too, that would be the end goal. We'd love to have that happen.
I think what's neat too coming up, there's a couple of events coming up. The men's basketball team is doing a toy drive for during their game against Crown in early December, and then in November at the end of the month, the 30th I believe it is, you guys have a game where it's the teddy bear toss, and this will be the third annual teddy bear toss, where again it's one of those things where you're doing something to benefit other people. Talk a little bit about that event.
Yeah, teddy bear toss is a blast. Basically what it does is that people can bring in their gently used teddy bears or new teddy bears or whatever they have, and we have a stack of teddy bears as well that we can sell at the front desk. And after our first goal, everybody throws them on the ice, and we try to fill the ice with teddy bears. And then after the goal is scored and they clean up, all of the teddy bears are then donated to Toys for Tots. And it's a great night. The kids, it's just a riot in our locker room because everybody wants to be the one that scores the goal, so the teddy bears come on. So it's just, again, another way that we can hopefully open up to the community and assist in any way we can. But Toys for Tots is a great organization, so anything we can do to help is awesome.
Last year I tried to throw Donnie on the ice because I hear he's a big teddy bear.
You know, we talk a lot about these special days. You know, Veterans Appreciation Day and the Coaches versus Cancer and Dig Pink. But all season long, teams at St. Mary's are doing things to help others. Volunteerism is very important in our athletic department. Talk a little bit about maybe some of the things that you've done, maybe some of the things that the entire department has done, really to just help our community.
Sure. Well, right now our goal as a hockey team is that we want every player in our organization, whether it be varsity or JV, to donate a minimum of 10 hours. And if everybody donates a minimum of 10 hours, that means we put in 500 hours a year in volunteer time. Some of the things that we've done this year, we volunteered to serve as judges and things for our cross-country meets at home when they needed multiple people to be throughout the bluffs and things like that, to make sure that the different teams that were there, that runners went the right direction. We helped to paint the storage room at the band shell down at Lake Winona. We organized to do yard work around the community for people. Now, unfortunately, that got canceled because it was pouring the day that we did it, so we'll have to find a day to make that up. We've painted the 2 elementary school cafeterias in the past. So we're open to anything, and if there's requests, I mean, we definitely would like to help out as much as we can. We try to do as much of the volunteer work as we can before the season, after the season, or during Christmas break, because the kids still have to study and they have to come to practice and they got to lift and they got to do everything they want. But we really enjoy doing that, and I think it's important for the kids to give back and learn that it's important throughout their lives that they give back. So volunteerism has been something that we've pushed very, very hard since I've been there anyway.
You know, I think one of the nice things, Dean, is that we could put any coach on our staff. You could put Mandy Pearson here, or you could put you know, Coach Watkins there, and really they're going to echo the same things that Coach Moore is talking about, in that volunteerism is so important for all of our coaches and all of our teams. I know we had that big you know, the 5K run walk for Sabrina Bushlack, and during that time, Coach Watkins' team couldn't be there because they were actually doing a volunteer work for one of the local churches, and so, you know, they're out there, they're always out there, and I think that it really says a lot about our student athletes as much as our coaches, because I think that they get a big charge out of being able to help as well, and I think it's a part of being a student athlete that we take very, very seriously and take great pride in.
Well, and often I think the student athletes, in a way, sometimes do double duty because they participate in all of the athletic department volunteer days, but then the university has just regular student volunteer days, and I'll often see them go on those events as well, which would be an additional opportunity.
And I think one of the things that we try hard to teach our guys is that it's not about the recognition you get for doing the volunteer act, it's the volunteer act itself. Once in a while you do get a little bit of positive recognition, and there's nothing wrong with that, but that sure cannot be the reason for you to do it. So we just like that to be something that they learn and ingrain and do for the rest of their lives, not just their 4 years while they're at school.
Bill, it was great to see the entire women's hockey team at your last game there last Friday night. They were all there. They were in red. They were loud. They were in support. They didn't have a game last weekend. Oftentimes, you don't get to see each other play and offer that support because one's home, the other's on the road. Same. And so once in a great while, you do get to support the other team, and it's nice to see.
It is, and I think our players and the women's players get along very, very well. So in weekends like next weekend where we don't play, we'll be there to support them in the same way they were for us last week. But you're right, they were all out there, all decked out in red with flags, banners, waving. They were fun to have.
And it'll be a great time this upcoming weekend. Friday night at 7:30 is the men's contest against Hamlin. You'll be able to see it right here on Channel 25, but certainly, and Bill, I think this is an open invitation, right, for any person who has been in the service, any branch of the military, to come up and be recognized for Veterans Appreciation Night.
Yeah, all veterans will get in free. And then part of the proceeds that are generated through Chuck-a-Puck, through concessions, through gate, will be donated back to help maintain and do any of the work that needs to be done on Veterans Park.
All right, Bill Moore, men's hockey coach, thanks for joining us. So good luck against Hamlin this weekend, and have a great appreciation night there on Friday.
Thank you. We're very excited.
All right, stay tuned. Donnie and I will be back to recap the past week. We'll talk women's hockey and some other action going on in the athletic department. That's next here on HBC.
You know, we're doing things in bus magazines and the newspapers and things like that, and it's just like we seemed like we needed a different media, and we thought, you know, TV, perfect. Laura, she is awesome. She came out the first time. She was very, very personable, tends to your needs. I mean, anything that you needed, she was right there. I literally, seriously, have been wanting to make more commercials just because it was such a great, fun process. I would recommend HBC to anybody.
Call Laura for details on how to get a free commercial for your business.
A state-of-the-art fiber optic network. Sure, you've all heard that. But what does it mean? Well, if you're an HBC customer,
It's television in crystal clear high definition and whole home DVR. Blazing fast internet speeds, perfect for gaming or movies. Phone service with your choice of features, including unlimited long distance. And now, HBC has expanded service throughout much of southeast Minnesota. Call today and see what it's like to be on a state-of-the-art fiber optic network with a local company receiving national recognition for their service.
Winona Homes was offered a deal from another company.
I switched to another company because they made some promises and I was going to get a better rate, so I switched.
But when she tried their deal, she ran into some issues.
The other company that I was with wasn't local. You couldn't even get somebody to come to your office.
At HBC, customer service is our #1 priority for your business. Let's just say Jenny is a lot happier now.
I have never had such fast customer service.
To see how HBC can help your business, call Melanie at 474-5802.
And we're back here on the Cardinals Nest on HBC, the sports show devoted exclusively to St. Mary's athletics. Dean Beckman along with Sports Information Director Donny Nadeau. And Donny, we had Bill Moore on the first segment to talk men's hockey. Women's hockey idle last weekend. They had the weekend off. They were out supporting the men's team. Now this weekend, they're back in action against Hamlin. They'll be at Hamlin on Friday night, a home contest, 2 o'clock Saturday afternoon. Hamlin picked up its first win of the season last weekend to go 1-2 now to start the season, but their goaltender in that win had like 47 saves, so it's going to be tough to score on the Pipers.
And traditionally, Hamlin has been a very solid defensive team. If you look just at last year's series, St. Mary scored 2 goals in the 2 games combined and came away with 3 points. They won 1-0 and tied 1-1. So Coach Manor knows it's going to be a defensive struggle, and I think that the game really kind of fits them in that offensively they have some firepower. They've scored 7 goals in their first 2 games, so they can put the puck in the net. And I think that they should be a little confident heading in, coming off of a 4-1 win against Concordia, Wisconsin, but. Like you said, they haven't played in 2 weeks, so that's always a concern. It's one of those double-edged swords. It was probably good for Coach Manor that they had the week off after their season opener so they could work on some things that maybe they need to work on. But on the flip side of that, they've been off for 2 weeks in terms of competition, so they'll be ready for Friday night up at the Ritter Arena.
Donnie, knowing Coach Manor as you do, what do you think his preference is? Does he like to have? I would guess he would like to have that week off, especially early in the season, to work on some things.
No question. Having this weekend off was a good thing for them. You get to see what they have in that first weekend, and then you get to start shoring up some things. I bet we could have asked Coach Moore that question if he would rather have next weekend off or would rather have had last weekend off. He probably would have taken last weekend just because it gives you that opportunity to kind of work on the things you need to work on because it's so early in the year. Once you get later in the year, your lines are pretty set, your power play's going well, your penalty kill is going well. You don't really need to work so much on system play. And early in the season, you want that time to be able to do that. And I think that week off was certainly good for them in terms of getting prepared for the conference opening weekend.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of opening weekends, it was that last weekend for the men's and women's swimming and diving teams at St. Mary's. And again, the men really picking up where they left off with Mark Ross and a number of other swimmers, Brian Baker, who excelled at the end of last season and are starting off the same way.
Yeah, no question. Mark Ross has been, we've talked about Mark Ross for 3 years now, and we will talk about him for a 4th year here, his senior year. And I know that talking to Coach Lindquist, one of the things that he had said is Mark is determined to make his senior year his best year, which is going to be difficult because he's had 3 very, very good years as a Cardinal, and he picked up a second-place finish at the Hamlin Invitational, and Brian Baker, who finished 6th in both the 1 meter and 3 meter at the MIC Championships last year, picked up, like you said, picked up where he left off, and he finished 2nd in both events at the Hamlin Invitational. So he's certainly doing a good job. And like we talked about, getting to know your team, Coach Lindquist looked at that first invitational as a chance to kind of see where his team is at and kind of expect where he can expect them to go. And the last question I asked him when I was interviewing him yesterday was what do you take out of that meet? And he says, you know what, it's just another meet pointing to the conference championships in late February, because that's what it's all about, is those 3 days at the MIC Championships. These are just preparation for those 3 days.
And it certainly takes a little stress off, but at the same time, you want to make sure you have that sense of urgency for the swimmers. So the men placed 4th. Then on the women's side, they placed 5th in their season opener, and Abby Kratzky, Anna Smarin getting the job.
Yeah, names that we've talked about, for many years now. Abby and Anna have been leaders of that team for basically for the past 3 years, and they will be again this year. And again, Coach Lindquist likes to stress that he's not worried about individual finishes or team finishes, but what that time is when they touch the wall. It's a team event, or it's a team sport, but really it's an individual event, and he wants his swimmers to be swimming as fast as they can, and as they get in preparation for for those conference championships. Big weekend this weekend. They've got their St. Mary's Invitational on Saturday. That starts at 10:30 up at the Jewel Gurnis Pool. The only home event this semester for the Cardinals, so it's kind of important for them to get a chance to swim in front of their home crowd, and I know Coach Lindquist is excited. We'll be streaming that live on the internet. First time that we've done that for a swim meet, so that should be a lot of fun for him, and be able to have some of his parents and fans that can't make it to the event be able to watch it. So a big weekend for the swim team as well.
And Donnie, in exhibition men's basketball, the men's team opened play last Saturday right here on HBC. We had their game at Winona State University. Even though a loss, I think everyone came out of that gymnasium impressed by St. Mary's. The Cardinals had that game against the number 11 team in Division II. It was a 6-point game in the second half before I think the Cardinals got fatigued a little bit, but all-conference first-team selection from last year, Michael Burfind looking strong against a very good Warriors team. He finished with 16 points.
Yeah, if you talk about the players that should have stepped up, did step up. You mentioned Burfind. Evan Peterson had a great game at the point for the Cardinals, and as John, our worker behind the scenes said, they look good, and it's encouraging for Coach Landrum, no question about it. I don't think he cared what the final score was. He wanted to see what his team could do up against one of the best teams in all of NCAA Division II, and I think they held their own, like you said. 17 minutes left in the game, it was a 4-point game, and the Cardinals were right there, and I think that being that it was an exhibition game, teams still kind of getting to know each other and getting that chemistry going, and I think they did get a little fatigued at the end, but boy, they sure showed that they can play ball, and it's going to be an exciting season for the Cardinals. I think they've got the talent to do some really good things this year.
Yeah, no question. And I think the thing I was worried about coming in would be depth in the post, but I think some of that was relieved. They have some really good freshman players coming in. So all in all, a very good performance there last weekend.
Yeah, and now we get to see what the women can do on Saturday. They've got their exhibition game against Winona State. It's actually a regular season game for Winona State, but it's our exhibition game, and it'll be exciting to see what the Cardinals can do against the Warriors there.
All right, that's going to do it for the Cardinals Nest here on HBC. Thanks for watching. Be sure to tune in Friday night for men's hockey right here on HBC at 7:30.